Okay, day 101, the DynCorp harvest. If you haven't watched the series before, you can watch the day ones, part ones of my series and get the gist of the overall flow. You don't have to watch all of the part 2, 3, and 4s during the day. But what I do is I actively read comments during the day, and people will see things in the presentation and it'll spark some connection. And that's really important for me to get out several versions during the day to get that to everyone else, because this is an open investigation, and that's how connections happen. And if I don't turn them quickly, the investigation slows down. So we're investigating DynCorp, the vaccines I'm going to talk about today, the sex trafficking, and the organ harvesting, all three in these. I'm also going to talk about hospital ships and how Sid Blumenthal and David Grange were in Libya with hospital ships. And I'm going to talk about the Phoenix program going all the way back to Vietnam, and how these original concepts were set up in 1965 for a way of pacifying the population in South Vietnam. And those same concepts are being used with our DHS here in the Department of Homeland Services. And they were used in Mexico as a precursor with Carlos Slim before they came to the United States. So this is one of those teams. I mean, everyone who said, oh, this is Team Rubicon, this is one of those Phoenix teams. The only thing that's different is they've added this health component. And the only reason that the health component is here now, where it wasn't in Vietnam, was the organs are harvestable. That's why it's Team Rubicon. So it's the symbol of the white and the red is the white is the protection team, the perimeter, and the red is getting that heart. And this all goes back to David Petraeus. You know, he's the designer of taking that Phoenix program and then adding to it, and he called it COIN, Counterinsurgency Program, which has a lot more use of gas, and they used to call it Catch and Kill Program. A lot more use of gas, a lot more use of different types of psychological operations. Like, you know, you want two villages, two chieftains, you want to attack one chieftain and make it look like the other village did it, and then get them fighting amongst each other, and then come in and save the day. That's kind of the David Petraeus stuff. They call it gang, counter gang in the CIA for like Bloods and Crips. Somebody was good enough to tell me, you know, bone marrow $23,000 a gram. They were kind enough to say there's 1,101 grams, I guess, in a pound. So that's an astronomical price. That's $23 million. I saw somebody said where it was $43 million. Your body's now worth $43 million, and I'm assuming that a lot of that is going to be bone marrow. When you consider that those cells can hang around 17 days after death, so that almost negates any of the other stuff. That's so valuable. I don't know if there's that many people on leukemia and other. I don't know how many other cancers can be operated on by bone marrow, but then there's the cord blood as well that can be used to recovered from the umbilical cord. So, and that's the Planned Parenthood thing. So that's just the update. Haven't really heard anything much about the Cleveland Clinic, other than you mentioned Cleveland Clinic and Johns Hopkins, and they both have United Arab Emirates hospitals in Dubai. UAE. Yeah, Dubai, the capital. So that was an interesting tie-in, because the two that I had picked out just from all the other evidence, I said, you know, Cleveland Clinic and Johns Hopkins. So somebody tied that together. So we're going to be looking there and looking at people who trained there and then came to Cleveland, people who trained there and then came to Johns Hopkins. As I said, Paul Farmer's the training doctor, the teaching hospital doctor. This is when you're first learning how to wield a scalpel. And then those doctors are going to be the transplant doctors. That's when you actually have to put it in, sew it up, and make sure that it's working, which is a totally different thing. So, as I mentioned before, Planned Parenthood is also in this business with cord blood, and of course they're very close to the Clinton situation. And then these heart transplants I mentioned the last time. I mentioned the viruses and the bioweapons. Keep those coming. These contracts from DynCorp on the Trello board, people are doing a great job putting those up on the Trello board so that we can understand. I'm going to have to add columns for DynCorp and all their ventures in in the viruses and the bioweapons and the vaccines. Add those to the Trello board. I mentioned this before. This is Osprey Global, General Grange. His wife, as I mentioned in previous passages, manages the port here in Norfolk. So it seems like a lot of these ships are, I don't know if they're being built in Hampton Roads. There's 9 more ships commissioned, but it's just a very close connection. As I mentioned before, Holly Grange, her dad, General Getz, had been involved in shipping weapons in the United States from Iraq battlefields. So there's kind of this concentration. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying there's this concentration of people around these hospital ships, and the fact that these helicopters, when this hospital ship came to Haiti, kept going back and forth to the hospital ship and not taking anybody who was injured. That's what. If you watch the videos, you'll see people on the ground saying, "Hey, they're saying they're not taking injured." So they're taking the Team Rubicon, who they're taking. They found who they were looking for, and they're taking Team Rubicon. Once they get 20, they're taking them out there, or whatever a UH-60 holds. So 2 more people came back with other Lionsgate films about organ harvesting. I think one was called, I didn't put it in here. One was called Repo, like repossessing your organs once you've grown them for me. And then the other one was Daybreakers. It was another organ harvest one. And of course, Matrix is an organ harvest. I don't know if that's Lionsgate. And then The Island is also. But it's this recurring theme. And also you have a lot of Lionsgate films where it's okay to have a gang going around killing people for their organs. That's also kind of trying to make that a socially acceptable meme. So anyway, I haven't found the Braverman versus Braverman yet case where it's been restarted and found out if Dana Braverman from Team Rubicon is related to Eric Braverman or not. But it doesn't really make any difference because it could all just be Mossad, where kids go back and get a new identity and they come back as a Braverman. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there for my friends in the Negev. I haven't seen much research in this area for the people that are on this list. I really would love to know if the people on this email list for this new heart were like Peter Kazak's one of the people that's on here. So I'm thinking that maybe this is kind of like a social justice list, like, oh, we got the heart to a new person and it came from this bad guy over here. And Peter Kazak made it happen through the Department of Justice through some type of, domestic harassment campaign. But I do believe that DHS does have this list of terrorist watch list people. A lot of them, just like the Phoenix program going all the way back to Vietnam, starts out trying to go after terrorists but ends up targeting completely innocent people. So it'd be interesting to see if that's where the hearts are coming from through the DHS program, or whatever it's going to be called, Disrupt and Diffuse, or whatever it's going to be called. I won't talk about this other than to say that so many people are sending me films about Bosnia and Kosovo. I mean, the Serbian president's going to be there tomorrow at the prayer breakfast with Trump. So it's going to be interesting to see if they invite up that Bosnia or the Kosovo president that Hillary likes so much. And I can't wait to see them at the prayer breakfast tomorrow looking at each other. I saw a guy named Doug Valentine who wrote the book, a thick book about the Phoenix Project. And he talked about the White Helmets being a totally fake organization and so forth. And what he said about the Phoenix program was interesting. South Vietnam had 44 provinces, and they put a torture center in each province. Then in the counties, or they call them districts, they put a JTTF type officer in every district. And they did exactly what I'm saying. You start with $10,000, you take over the whole district, in 10 years you got the whole country. So exactly like our fusion centers, where we put one in each state, 50 of them, and now there's, I think, a little more than that. And then in each police force around the county, you put a JTTF officer. Gradually, you take over the whole country, or the whole police force. People are emailing me about Glenn Beck. I didn't mean to say Mormons were behind all this. There's a group of Mormons called FLDS that believe in the bigamy. And they also believe in all these tunnels, because the feds always were after them, so they always have these tunnels. So what I'm saying is the CIA, when they go to a group like this, they look at, they're anthropologists almost. They look and see the habits and patterns and things that they'll respond positively to if there was propaganda. So if they know that they, had this cult of, you can have as many women as you want, and you're chosen by God, and you can have women at 12, and you can have this tunnel warren in case anything ever happened to you. They'll use that and say, hey, we're going to create this area out in Denver, west of the airport, where you could have that sort of warren. So they'll do that for that group, and then they'll go to another group that believes something totally different, and then they'll craft an individual plan that will be most. It's really quite brilliant how they do it. They really look into the history and the anthropology before they come out with a. That's misspelled. I misspelled vaccine. Maybe that's because PPD did such a bad job on the tests in Haiti. So, and this is the sort of thing I'm saying. So it's not going to just be for Catholics or Christians or Baptists. It's going to be Branch Davidians, cults, everything. The CIA is going to have, and this goes all the way back to the Phoenix program. They looked at the Vietnamese who were afraid that they wouldn't go to heaven if their liver was eaten. So they would go into villages and cut out and disembowel everybody and show the liver wasn't there. And that would freak everybody out. The same reason why the Israelis have the women soldiers, because the Muslim soldiers think they won't go to heaven or Allah or whatever if they're killed by a woman. So the Israelis will let everybody, the automatic machine guns in the PLO areas, the Gaza, Palestine areas, they'll make sure that they know that they are manned by women crews, that kind of thing. So, and all this, he's a Mormon, yes, but he is the cutout for the going after the Mormon church because it's very hierarchical. There'll be another cutout for, not a cutout, but an agent for the Catholics. Very hierarchical again. Christians in Action will be the same way. Foursquare Church will be the same way. You're going to have, the cults are going to be the same way. There's going to be a different person, like you're going to have a David Koresh is the person here, a charismatic person. So for every one of these that you want to hit, and like I said, there's 1,000 of them. This is one that's really out of control, this Operation Underground Railroad. So, because they do all the sporting events. So speaking of that, Operation Underground Railroad, here comes the Super Bowl. And so you're going to have this group, that you just saw with that guy, Tim Ballard, doing this at the Super Bowl. And there's going to be these kind of women that are going to be targeted. And you're going to have Middle East, all over the world. You're going to have a sex, filming of sex. And they're not going to be prosecuted. Some will be prosecuted, a few will be prosecuted, but most of them will be put into this asset forfeiture program. Because let's say this is a whole family. If Claude is bad, then that allows me to say everybody in Claude's family now is a target. Okay? It's them against us. So I want everybody's assets if I'm in the CIA program. I don't just want Claude's assets to pay me $10,000 and go to jail for 10 years. I want to be able to put a revenge motive in my group to take everybody's assets here and destroy it, just basically bleed everybody dry. And that's the strategy of DHS. So I won't talk about this too much more of USAID, but there's a lot of people sent me stuff on USAID, which I appreciate, and I'll go over when I have more time. I just didn't get a chance to. Somebody did send me a thing about World Vision, though, and I always wondered about World Vision because they were a customer of mine. They seem very marketing-oriented. A lot of these places that should be NGOs are very savvy on the web, and the Scientologists remind me of that. Everything's printed in beautiful Heidelberg presses, color presses, and so forth. Somebody's changed that already since I've typed it in. Kathy O'Brien, her story about, she talked about the World Vision vaccine program here. She said she trafficked drugs here. She said she was used as a sex slave here. So there's just more and more evidence kind of piling up that this is what's going on. I'm going to leave it right there. Anybody who has any information about these foreign officers that are around the country and where the hospital ships are, follow the foreign officers and follow the hospital ships. Those are the people that are going on shore and making deals and figuring out who's going to be transferred out on the helicopter and who's going to get an operation, who isn't. Those ambassadors or foreign service officers are going to be the salesmen for these hospital ship transplants. I'm going to quit right there. I'm not going to go all the way to the 675,000 emails or dollars. I just want to say I haven't forgotten Monica Peterson. I'll come back to you. You're not forgotten. Okay, that's it.